Joe Leathers, manager at 6666 Ranch, on behalf of Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association and self. Mr. Leathers, I see that there is a small typo in association. Will you give us the green light to correct that?
You bet.
All right, and you're registered for HB3334, is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Leathers, you may go ahead and testify.
My name is Joe Leathers. I'm the president and general manager of the 4 Ranch, headquartered at Guthrie, Texas, but we have 3 different divisions, including 2 in the Panhandle. I'm also here to represent the Texas Southwest Cattle Raisers, but also myself as a private property owner in the Panhandle. I want to give y'all just a little bit of brief history. I've been with the 4 for 26 years. I was actually managing the Dixon Creek Division in 2006 when the first historical wildfire took place there. It started on the ranch at an oil field location. And during all that process, during the investigation at the origin of the fire, there was multiple fuses laying on the ground at the base of a pole. And during the trial, the pumper that was asked, what are those fuses there for? And his response was to show that we have a problem. Well, they knew they had a problem when the first fuse was thrown down, and the remainders were problems that were consecutively after that, and then the historical fire started then. There were multiple lives lost, burned across 3 counties or several counties. And so after that fire, I met with all the oil companies that operate on the ranch, and I'm blessed. I have more than one bad operator on the 4 I manage 270,000 acres, and we have oil on all 3 divisions. And it's a problem that's ongoing. But I called a meeting and got every oil operator that was on our property at Dixon Creek. And the Railroad Commission was there at that meeting too after that fire in 06. And I told them, I said, we're going to have to get your act cleaned up, and we're going to have to make your oil field safe. And they more or less told me it was none of my business and there was nothing I can do, because those leases a lot of them were made in the 20s. And without the vision of what the oil field could become, it pretty much says that you have ingress and egress, and 4 will receive royalties off of that oil. Now, I'm here to say this: the 4 probably would not exist today in the size and scope that it does without oil and gas. And so I'm not here to try to ruin oil and gas or keep people from making money. And I have several operators on the ranch that are very good operators. And if they all operated like them, we probably wouldn't have an issue here today. But in 2006, I made a trip down here to Austin, and I worked and lobbied. And we had some meaningful legislation passed. And then in after 2010, we had another fire, and I came back down here, had the same results from the oil companies. And so I come back down here, and we got more meaningful legislation passed. And so I'll come back down here somewhere around 2017, and then back in now. Since 2006, there's been 3 million acres burned in the Texas Panhandle. About a little over 75% of that has been attributed to electrical problems. So it's obvious that we have a problem. So my point to you today, I'm in support of this bill because it's the first bill that I've seen, that I've helped work on, that actually have some teeth in it, that we might get some changes made in the Panhandle to save lives. And it's pretty tough. When I stand twice on a neighbor's property, and he's lost his home twice, folks, and he says, Joe, what am I going to do, and what can you do to make changes? Now, I'm sorry for getting emotional, but when I know people that they've lost lives, repeated fires that keep happening, we have lives lost, 3 million acres burned, homes burned, communities threatened. Ranchers that you'll hear from today that's been burned out, like Craig's been burned out, not just from fence to fence. I mean, I've lost a lot of acres in multiple different fires, but we're big enough that we were able to recover. But I've had to rearrange my my operation because I just planned for fires. The thing about it is that I was raised in the Panhandle. The wind blew when I was a kid. And the wind will blow the same amount for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren. The problem is the infrastructure, and there's not anything being done about it. We have to rely on good stewards. That means good stewards of our neighbors. That means good stewards of the oil companies that operate on our places. We have to rely on government agencies, and we have to rely on legislatures to develop bills and laws and regulations that protect citizens of Texas. And I don't feel like we have good stewards, good partners in the oil field. In fact, I know we don't. And I've lost confidence in our regulatory agencies because I do not see at home and in District 10 that we're getting to the help that we need. We have an opportunity here today. Collectively, the legislature, oil companies, railroad commission, public utility companies, and yes, landowners, we have an opportunity in this session to change the future and the relationships that we have to make Texas a safer place for everyone. Because I want you to understand, right now, today, the same threat remains. After 06, I had every oil, at our cost, I had an electrical engineer come in and inspect every well site on the 4-6s. Found hundreds and hundreds of problems and violations and turned them in. To this day, I'm not sure any of them's been fixed. And when we call the Railroad Commission at Texas, at District 10, if it's an oil spill or something going into the creek, we can get some results. They'll come out. But if it has to do with electrical, I have no confidence whatsoever. I vote of no confidence in my men that oversee these operations say that they've given up. With that, I'll take any questions.
Members, any questions? Members, any questions for Mr. Leathers? Yes, Mr. Gerdes.
So what's going on with Region 10?
I don't know. Be nice to find out.
They just not responsive?
I get no response from them. If they do communicate, then we get no response at home. So I don't know what the problem is, and I don't know if we've got a problem in the Railroad Commission across the state. I'm probably assured that we don't, but I don't know that. All I can tell you from personal experience is we got a problem at Region 10.
And have you heard from other regions? Are they having some of the same?
I haven't talked to other regions.
And how many fires did you say you've had to deal with throughout your time over there at the 4-6s?
Oh, I've been blessed. I've got to deal with two of the largest fires in Texas history, plus multiple other small ones.
And when 75% of the acreage burned, which is what you were saying is 3 million, that's a hell of a problem.
There's a problem. And it's time to change that problem. We've got the perfect firestorm conditions to change a problem. If you realize there's a problem, as a manager of the ranch, if somebody tells me more than once that I've got a problem and I see there's a problem, it's incumbent upon me to find out what the problem is and rectify it. And that's what I'm asking from here.
And how long ago was it when you had you turned in the issues on when you had them?
It had been in 2007.
And nothing's.
I can't tell you that there's been any or very little of it done. But I want you to understand, we've got some really, really good operators on the 6s.
Mm-hmm. Well, it only takes one bad one.
That's exactly right. And the bad actors gives the rest of the oil field and the rest of the good operators a bad eye and a bad reflection. And it also reflects poorly on the Railroad Commission that may not be justified to reflect on. Mm-hmm. But the laws and the regs come from right here and through the regulatory agencies. Mm-hmm. And so I just encourage you as lawmakers to stand tough and stand strong, and let's get some bills passed that will be consequential. I'm way past meaningful. Let's get some consequential bills where there's some consequences in this so people have to listen. If you can't operate safe, I don't think you ought to be operating.
Right. Thank you, Joe. And thanks to Curry and Craig for coming as well. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from the members? No?
Thank
Sir,
you.
we must and will do better. Thank you, sir. And pretty neat to meet the manager of the 4 Sixes. Thank you, sir.